third leadership style is called the developmental leadership style. This kind of a leader, a manager, or even a parent believes that their job is to build their juniors to a level that they don't need the leader. In the early times, we call this as a self-dispensing leadership style. The inspiration for this style was derived from people like Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, Professor Ravi Mathai, and many other good leaders in India who believe that their main job is to create an atmosphere in the organization by empowering those juniors who work with them to act independently and do things on their own. So the job of a leader is to build continuously capabilities of their juniors so that they are brought to the level of a leader, even surpass the capabilities of a leader. That is what was called as self-dispensing leadership style. These kind of leaders set goals on the basis of the capabilities of their juniors. If someone is at a very high level, they set much higher goals and ultimately enable them to set the goals for themselves. If someone is not very competent, they work with this person to gain self-confidence, empower this person, help the person to recognize his or her own strengths and areas where he can make a difference and build that particular person up. The main concern of the self-dispensing leaders or developmental leaders is to empower the juniors and build them. They are good at competence building, climate building, culture building, and also commitment building. But they don't dominate the scene. They normally like to enable the juniors and make them feel that the juniors are responsible for whatever they are accomplishing. If a junior makes a mistake, they create an atmosphere where the junior can learn from his or her own mistakes. By helping the person to reflect about the mistake, draw lessons from the mistakes, and identify ways and means by which the person can make sure that the mistake will not happen again. So they promote reflection, continuous learning. Same way, if somebody fails, they help that particular junior or the team or the group or the children to learn from the failures. Again, help them to review or reflect, diagnose and decide in future how not to get into that kind of failure situations. They freely share information because they believe that sharing information is a way of building the capabilities of juniors. Similarly, they are good at recognizing whenever they notice somebody who is doing a good job. So they are very positive thinkers and constantly reward and recognize their juniors. When they are at meetings, they speak less and listen a lot more and make their juniors to come up with action plans so that they can have a kind of a sense of ownership and make a difference. That is the reason why we call these leaders as developmental leaders or self-dispensing leaders. McClelland, in his article in 1975, Power is the Great Motivator, called such managers as institutional managers. He attributed a very important quality to the institutional managers, and that is their ability to control their emotions and ability to control the expression of their own desires. So that, they are very thoughtful people, they help the juniors therefore to recognize and develop a sense of ownership and so on. They are driven by the need to influence, but their way of influencing is by letting people discover their own talent, discover how they can make a difference, and their main job is therefore to create an atmosphere, a learning culture, an empowering kind of an atmosphere and so on. Many Indian managers, when you ask them, like to be developmental managers. In fact, 90% of them think that they are developmental managers. They have all the qualities of a developmental manager. But you have to ask their juniors to discover whether they really behave like developmental managers or not. While good thought is necessary, thought is not enough. If you want to be a development manager, you should certainly think like an empowering developmental manager. Be secure about yourself. Be prepared to invest on your juniors. But at the same time, you should also be prepared to receive feedback from them, examine your style, and constantly make a mid-course kind of a correction if it is required. The developmental leaders have been found to create a climate of independence on the part of the juniors and interdependence. The juniors work like a team because the boss facilitates teamwork, collaboration, and win-win kind of an atmosphere in the organization. Ultimately, I think a good leader is one who is a developmental leader who multiplies leaders in his or her own kind of an organization. But it's not very easy to achieve. But the least you can do is to profess it, philosophize it, and keep reviewing whether you are a developmental leader or not. So all the best from TVR Less to recognize and cultivate your own developmental leadership styles.